So, good morning, everybody. I am Laina Orlando, and today is September the 24th, and we are in episode 215 of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. Lovely to see so many beautiful souls coming back. To those that I normally text, I'm sorry, I completely forgot to send the link until just like a minute ago. But it didn't stop those of you who showed up before I even texted. So, Mike, good to see you. And Kathy, welcome. I know you just joined the Awareness Academy. I think it was a day or two ago, and so grateful that you are here. So, and of course, everybody else, and some of you I saw last night during our one of our classes in the Awareness Academy, where we dive really deep into A Course in Miracles. That's what I call the advanced ACIM. It's amazing. It's amazing when two or more of us gather together to dive into the teachings and really get the amazing essence of the course, that all it wants to do is to free us. Jesus wanted us to experience the same level of freedom that he knew, and he operated on this third dimensional plane in freedom, in freedom. That's the only word. To me, that's the highest level that we can all achieve is a freedom that is realized when we remember who we are. And that's why we're all on this spiritual journey. That's why we become seekers, is that we're looking for the truth, and the truth is what sets us free. So in today's Ascension with A Course in Miracles, I was guided, as always happens, right before I get here. So I'm going, okay, okay, let me go to that lesson. Let me at least read it quickly, briefly, so that I know what what's going to be transmitted. So today's today we are going to go to lesson number 186. But don't go there yet, because there's a message that is going to be shared first. Lesson 186, the title of it is Salvation of the World Depends on Me. And the reason I heard that we needed to look at that lesson and take responsibility for the salvation of the world is because we have been looking at, for the last couple of Ascension with A Course in Miracles episodes, which you can go back and find. I believe that they were 211, 212, 213, 214. And those episodes, including the one last week, we were looking at our holiness, the importance of recognizing that we are holy. If we don't accept our holiness, it is very difficult to fulfill our function, which is the function that we have is the salvation of the world. Now, people who don't understand the course would say, what do you mean the whole world depends on me? There's 8 billion people out there. Have you seen how crazy they are? How can it all be on my shoulders? Well, when we go to that lesson, when we dive into what it is saying, it is to strengthen your resolve to accept your holiness so that you can fulfill your function. But it is not a fulfillment of your function like the mess of the world is on your shoulders alone. It's not that way. It's a very joyful acceptance of a function that has been given to us by a creator who knows that we can handle it. And the reason most humans don't want to be responsible for anybody else but me is because we don't understand how powerful we are. Part of what the ego does, besides separate us from one another, is to keep us thinking that we are small. That sends us into victim energy. That puts us in the frequency of, oh, powerlessness, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough. And then that allows for those who think that they are better than everybody else, that they are better than God themselves, to move into that level of hierarchy of us versus them, the haves and the have-nots, the ones with the power and then all the powerless people in the world, which is evidenced by so many organizations, the way that they create their organizational chart. The CEO at the top and all the peons at the bottom. The in the military, the general, 5 star, 6 star, I don't know how many stars general at the top and all the rank and file at the bottom. Government, one president at the top and all of the voters at the bottom. That is not the way that we were created. However, as we looked at last night in last night's class, we have free will. We can choose to play any role on that entire spectrum. But the majority of people, because when we incarnate, we are brought down to the level of consciousness that our parents have. Some of us go kicking and screaming, fighting, and of course, we're labeled the black sheep or the difficult child or the problem child. And for a while, many were given Ritalin or something to calm you down because you're out of control. Well, when we go through the process of being conditioned, our consciousness comes in. Let me use this chart. I'll take these two down. Our consciousness is always at the highest frequency. A baby, you watch a baby, it's pure love. The highest frequency is what we bring in. However, we get conditioned to whatever level of consciousness our parents are at. And you see the reverse of the pyramid that I was talking about. We are all the children of God, all of us endowed with our Creator with the same inalienable rights, with the same power to create. Last night we were looking at, I will, since I'm referring to last night, we were looking at chapter 1 in the Course in Miracles, and inside of last night we started chapter 2, the first section. We're all of the same order. Every one of us is equal. So we all come in equally endowed with the same ability to love, to experience peace, to experience joy, to experience creation. And what happens is we are brought down little by little by those who are in the lower levels of consciousness. And it requires us to be here for decades. That's why, our parents bring us down to where they have been brought down for the 2-3 decades of their lives before we incarnate, and they bring us down to their level of consciousness. Now, I want us to look at our level of consciousness is the knowingness of our soul is one thing. But then the level of consciousness as a human, this is what the ego knows. That is what gets brought down. Our level of consciousness as a soul, the light that we hold, that never, ever, 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 ever changes. Now, if you think about a dimmer in your house, like we had dimmers in many rooms, specifically in the dining room, and it was a knob. For a while it was a knob, then we switched it to a little slider. But if you take the knob, as we are conditioned into what our parents believe, little by little, it's like we turn the dimmer down. But if you've ever noticed, when you turn down the dimmer in a light, a chandelier, like in our dining room, you always see a little faint flicker of light. That is what we experience. That is what we have access to while we are being brought down into the lower levels of egoic consciousness. And it might be confusing if I use that both words, consciousness, for both, because consciousness is awareness of who we are. We are conscious of who we are. That never goes away, which is why so many of us feel like, these people are crazy that are raising me. I don't believe what they're saying. I don't belong here. I want to go home. Many of us have had those feelings because it never goes away, our connection to the truth of who we are. However, the conditioning, the programming, the training that we receive is what begins to make us think less of who we are, is what brings us down into being small-minded. And in that small-minded, we are in our wrong mind, as the Course teaches. We're not thinking clearly because we're thinking that we are less than who we are. And it starts with mother and father. As wonderful as some of them might be, I know not every single person that watches this had an experience of a good mom and dad or a loving mom and dad. But for the most part, most parents try and do the best that they can with their children. but they still put the child, and you are below me. I need to teach you these things because you don't know anything. And they indoctrinate us with whatever they know. They cannot not teach us something different. My Catholic parents couldn't teach me about Buddhism. They thought that that was, woo woo, and we don't do that. Your Jewish parents cannot indoctrinate you into Islam. They only indoctrinate you into what they know. So we receive what they believe, and that becomes our reality. I am the daughter of so and so, and I have my dad's eyes, and I have my mom's skills, my talent, whatever. And I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat because that's what they are, and I'm rich or poor because that's what they are. And this is who we are. Now, from that, then we go on to school and become educated and get careers, and we kind of break out of that. Many people, as they're moving from those teenage years into those early adult years, or early 20s, are trying to find their voice. They're trying to listen to that consciousness of the soul of who they are while working with the beliefs that they have been indoctrinated to believe. So you can have a young person who says, I really want to sing. But the indoctrination is, well, singers, you're not going to make much money. You're going to become a starving artist. You're not going to, do you know how difficult that field is? So let's be practical. Why don't you follow in my footsteps and become an accountant like daddy, and then you can take over the business. So you've got these young people, because typically in high school, early college years, you're hearing something. That's why you're so rebellious during those years. Why do you think they drink so much? Is to numb the discomfort inside, to try and numb the part of them that wants to be themselves and what they've agreed to, albeit unconsciously, with their parents, with society, with what I'm supposed to do and be and have. So that internal battle inside is happening in those years. It really middle school, but high school, you're trying to become somebody. You see people like you because, and you're popular because of your looks or your talent or your abilities, your whatever, your the teacher's pet, whatever it might be, your athlete. And then you're testing the waters. You're seeing, how am I perceived in the world? Who likes me? And we form our personalities. Part of our egoic personality is based on what we are receiving from the outside. Am I liked? Am I not liked? Oh, I'm really good athlete. Well, then I'll pursue a career there. But maybe inside you just want to be a singer, or maybe inside you just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Maybe inside there is an inkling for, I just I want to go to Nepal. I just want to go there. I'm feeling a calling to go there. But then the logical, egoic mind. But no, if I'm going to follow in my dad's footsteps, I've got to go to college. I've got to get this degree. I got to become the accountant. I got to blah, blah, blah. All the things that I'm supposed to be, do, and have so I can do life right according to those who are indoctrinating me. And I use the word indoctrination because at first I used to be very offended that with that word. Nobody indoctrinated me when I was very egotistical and very thought I knew everything. Nobody indoctrinated me. I am my own person. But when you do the work, when you begin the process of purification and you begin to look at the thoughts and beliefs in your mind, you realize they're all indoctrination. It's all information that you receive from the outside and you agree to, not because you are making a mature conscious decision. When you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, it's not a mature decision. I accepted Catholicism because that's what they told me. That's what they said I was. You're a Catholic. We're Catholics. That's what we do. We went to those Catholic churches. I had no idea that I could pick something else until I was in my 40s that I realized, you know what? I don't have to accept that I am Catholic. I'm not what my mother told me that I was, or my grandmother. I'm my own person. And of course, I went on a journey where I had to leave the God of my upbringing and go find the God that I felt within me. And, this is known as the God of my own understanding. And I went through many learnings. I went through Buddhism. I read about, the aspects of the Quran. I read about Kabbalah specifically in Judaism. I studied books written by atheists. I became okay, I'm going to look at everything and then I'll make up my own mind. But the indoctrination doesn't only come from your parents, it comes from the schooling, the government, the media. Anything that is external is creating an imprint. And when you accept it, when you receive it, then that is what you agree to from a very young, immature place. That becomes what the ego uses as who you're supposed to be. On the other hand, your soul is not bound to what anybody in this world dictates that is the right thing or the wrong thing. Your soul is a free aspect of creation. It's an expression of God wanting to have a journey through you, uniquely through you. And it will go through whatever the ego takes it, but it will never, like the dimmer, you turn it way down low, it will never lose its knowingness that it is light, that it is one with all that is. So in the Course in Miracles, lots of things are happening. It is training us to remember the truth about God, the truth about who we are. It is correcting some of the lies that we've been given through religion. It is taking us as far back as it possibly can for us to really see that everything emanates from one source, and that is that God is. God is all that is. And every single one of us is experiencing the tiny mad idea of separation, that I am separate from everybody else. And of course, we're projecting this reality, so we're experiencing as it's real. Like right now, you guys are watching me and I'm watching you, and we're thinking, oh, there's other people out there. That this we're separate people having this experience. And that's a wonderful thing. But when the mind doesn't understand what's happening, well, we become susceptible to me versus them, and right versus wrong, and good versus evil. So we enter into the world of duality, that if we don't have the awareness of what is true, we will be swayed by fear. We will be swayed by protecting myself, and everything will be in service for me. It's all going to be about me, protecting me. And yes, we can say, well, we'll take care of our families. If you take care of your families, think about it. It's a relatively small number of people that you think that you can help, that you think that you can protect. Maybe one, two, three, four, maybe 10, maybe 12. But in reality, who you are, when you awaken and accept your role as a holy child of God, you can save the whole world. And that's what we really need to understand when we enter into the lesson that we're going to look at. But let me just mention this from last week. This was lesson 39. My holiness is my salvation. For us to be able to then go to the next lesson where we are practicing the salvation of the world depends on me, I first must accept my salvation. And my salvation meaning and if you have Catholic or Christian upbringing, sometimes salvation that definition is a little muddied because we think, oh, God is going to save me. God died for my sins and saved me. That or Jesus died for my sins. That's not what this is about. Salvation means, think about it this way, you spare yourself the lies of the ego. Salvation means you purify your mind and you know the truth of who you are. Salvation means you delete the information of the ego that you got programmed with, and you turn the dimmer up and you operate from the light that you are. Salvation means you stop pretending that you are less than who you are. Salvation means you spare yourself and others from believing the lies that we've all been indoctrinated into believing. Salvation means you accept your role as God created you. A tall order when you think you're down here, this pure little puny person, me, and how can I go against 8 billion people? And you ascend your consciousness, meaning your awareness. You take your mind through a process of sorting out the beliefs that you have until what God says is true about you is all that you accept as your reality. So that takes a while to get to that place. So in lesson 39, in paragraph number 4, I just want to read a couple of sentences because this sets us up then for where we're going. um, when we start looking at lesson 186. And look how the course lays everything in a very logical progression. So from lesson 39, I'm just going to do quick math, to 180, we got 140 some odd lessons that we have to go through to train our minds. But I'm going to jump us now, because I know you can handle it, to really put these two things together. So, lesson 39, paragraph 4, it states, your holiness is the answer to every question that was ever asked, is being asked now, and will be asked in the future. Your holiness means the end of guilt and therefore the end of hell. Sentence 3, your holiness is the salvation of the world and your own. Accepting that we are holy. And one of the reasons people have a hard time accepting their holiness, well, the ego can take it in one of two ways. Oh, yeah, I'm holy, I'm better than everybody else. Or I cannot be as holy as Jesus. Jesus is the only one that could ever achieve that. And I am, down here at the lowest level. I could never allow that to be my reality, because I am, not good enough. So holiness, according to the Course, is really accepting your wholeness. There is nothing wrong about you. There is nothing broken about you. There is nothing that is not pure perfection about who you are. As a matter of fact, the Course tells us you're not here to become perfect. You are here to accept that you already are. Isn't that amazing? How many of us grew up really thinking that we were perfect? And if we had moments where we thought we were perfect and amazing and holy, somebody would tell us, who do you think you are? They would put us in our place. Don't get too big for your britches. Whatever comment we might have heard was always about get down to your position. And it was always you are less than. So I'm going to read this again. Your holiness is the answer to every question that has ever been asked, is being asked now, and will ever be asked in the future, meaning you will never escape this question. Asking, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Where I come from? What's my purpose? All of that is going to lead you to one answer, which is that you are holy, you are whole, you are perfect, you're complete. So if you can just accept that right now, your life will change dramatically. Why? Because your holiness means the end of guilt, and therefore the end of hell. The end of guilt is feeling bad for the things that you might have done that might have hurt somebody, feeling guilty for operating inside of the delusion that you're not already whole and perfect and complete, feeling guilty because you didn't answer your own inner calling, feeling guilty because you didn't return mom's call on Sunday, feeling guilty because you broke up with somebody and broke their heart. Whatever the guilt is, maybe you shot somebody, and did something or stole or whatever, and you carry that guilt. But the primary guilt that puts us in hell is believing the ego story of separation, believing that you are not one with your creator. And then we carry the greatest guilt, which is one of the last obstacles that we have to look at. And we'll be ready for that whenever we're ready for that. Not everybody is going to see that at the same, at the same time. It could take lifetimes for people to realize that, wow, I really feel guilty that I put myself in hell, that I created all of the suffering, that I participated for lifetimes in roles that have been painful and scary and hurtful. We have to forgive ourselves for having done that. Why? Because when we forgive ourselves, we begin to accept the powerful part of the free will that we have, which is we got to create our own reality. Every incarnation, we are making it up. Every incarnation is a decision to play a role and allow ourselves to receive the information given to us in that era and to operate from that place, to be a slave in this one, to be a prince in the other one, to be a farmer in one, to be a fisherman in another lifetime, to be a stay-at-home mom in one, to be a corporate tycoon in another one. We chose to play those roles. And every time that we choose to play that role, if we turn our light down, if we turn the dimmer down and we don't remember the truth of who we are, we will descend and play out the role from the state of consciousness that our ego is in. Meaning, if my mind is filled with information that says that I'm less than, well, I'm going to be a victim and I'm going to operate in the lowest realms of consciousness. And guess what happens to victims? Victims get taken advantage of by bullies. And who are the bullies? Those are the victims who decide, I don't want to be a victim anymore, and then become a bully and go on to hurt others, because only hurt people can hurt others. If you've been hurt, well, if you don't want to stay powerless, you then become powerful in your mind, and then you begin to abuse others. So the parent who abuses their child I can promise you, they were a child who were abused by their parent. And as a child, they didn't have power, but now they're a parent, they have power. So I'm going to whip your ass, like, because that's what I experienced. Or I'm going to abuse you sexually because that's what I experienced. And then that's how the sins of the parents get passed along. So here we are. We've been given the Course in Miracles. We've been giving these incredible messages. And I know reading them sometimes is difficult to absorb everything in one sitting. Some of us have to read it and over and over and over again to really get what is going on in these messages, which is attempting to remind us that we are holy. And when we accept our holiness and then we decide, okay, my holiness is the salvation of the world and my own, how does that happen? Well, then let's jump to that lesson. Lesson 186. Lesson 186, the salvation of the world depends on me. And we'll probably stay with this lesson for maybe a couple of weeks because there's no way we'll be able to do it in one sitting. So, paragraph number 1. Let me repeat the statement. Salvation of the world depends on me. Paragraph 1, sentence 1. Here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. Think about that. If we humbly sit in the understanding that our salvation, because we are holy, is what one day will save the world. What an important role. From humbleness, that is such an important role. Who wouldn't want to play that role if you understood the truth of the meaning of who you are? Sentence 2 says, here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own, but that which has been given you. Instead of the ego saying, oh, I am, the world depends on me, gets all highfalutin and all arrogant, the world depends on me. Or the ego that goes into, oh no, the world, I have nothing to give the world. I've got nothing to give. You know, when you've got that victim mindset, there's nothing that I can give the world. Those two sides of the same egoic coin, that victim mindset, that powerlessness mindset that makes us either arrogant or makes us ignorant of how powerful we really are. When we understand that salvation of the world depends on me, and I accept that, God, show me exactly how I can be of service in the salvation of the world, that is when true humility comes in. But that, to come to that true humility and say, okay, God, you created me. You must have an idea of the role, the best role that I can play. The ego doesn't want anybody telling me what to do. But no, I'm not going to have God tell me what to do. I'm the boss of me. And I'm only speaking from all the things that I know I went through, because this is a process that is very similar for everybody. And when I was reading this and I'm going, oh my gosh, my arrogance, wow, my arrogance came from ignorance. I did not know the truth of who I was. I did not accept that God had created me, that I had a purpose so mighty as to save the world, because I was so afraid of God, and God was a punishing God, and I was a sinner, and I was less than, and blah, 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 blah. I had so much guilt, Catholic guilt, all those things that I did that I shouldn't have done, that I know were wrong. How can God redeem me? How can God, if anything, God's going to turn me into a pillar of salt because I've been so bad. My mind had to be, it's like I had to put my head into these cycles of cleansing that took a long time, took years to have those thoughts come up and decide, am I going to believe my ego? Am I going to believe my grandma? Or am I going to believe God, the creator of all that is? But to believe God, I had to create a relationship with this God that is a loving God. The relationship I had with God was with a God that I feared. So I couldn't go to the God that I feared and say, oh, tell me what my role is. I wanted nothing to do with that God. But as I began to go through the process of realizing I have been lied to about what God is, and not blame anybody because they did this to me, willfully, and they were been mean, and they did. No, they taught me what they knew. My grandmother's fears. She wasn't trying to make me afraid, and she wasn't. She was just passing along her fears to me. She passed them to my mom. My mom passed them to me. And down the chain of pain was handed. So I had to break that chain of pain and decide, let me create a relationship with God. Let me come to know God. And that is what sent me down this path 20 plus years, 25 years ago, to find out what's really going on here. So here, let's look at the next sentence. Sentence 3. So this statement, salvation of the world depends on me. Sentence 3, it offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. It does not judge your proper role. It but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring it to heaven's peace. To be able to take that statement and accept it as it is, God has a plan for me. It's a very important part. It's important because it was assigned to me. And God must think that I can handle it since it assigned me this role. Can you imagine what will happen in this world when every single being here who thinks that they're separate accepts a statement like this? All of a sudden, all of humanity will come to their knees. And when I say come to their knees, it's not to bow down to God. God does not want us to bow down to it. God wants us to stop listening to the ego. Because when we stop listening to the ego, we humble ourselves enough. Everything that God wants for us, which again is a whole different lesson, but our purpose, our function is salvation, but our purpose is happiness. God wants us to be happy. And it's even in the Constitution. Why? Because our founding fathers tapped into, channeled God, channeled that message directly that all of us are created equal, endowed by our Creator with the same inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the messages are everywhere. Our purpose is to be happy. Our function is the salvation of the world. And our function in saving the world only happens when we have saved ourselves. And to save ourselves is to spare ourselves from listening to the ego. Stop listening to that voice that tells you who you are or who you're not good enough. And listen to the voice within us, but we have to be willing to turn up that dimmer. For some people, the dimmer goes up all the way, and you have a moment like I did, where you have an encounter with the divine, and you know all the truth, and then boom, because I'm in the world, my dimmer went down pretty quickly, but not without my holding on to so much of the information that I experienced. So I was able to then begin the process of turning up that dimmer and return my mind to the place that it had experienced the truth and be able to live from that place more so. Not 100% of the time because I still have egoic thoughts, but I'm not deluded into thinking that I am my ego. So that distinction has already been made. So I operate as one who knows that I am one with God. But it's done from a place of humility, and I share what I share because I want my brothers and sisters who are interested in achieving the same thing. I just teach them how I did it. And I did it through the teachings of A Course in Miracles. And Jesus did it, and he has been showing us the way. And when we learned the way from Jesus, who achieved that oneness with God, and he was killed because nobody wanted, who was in charge at that time, wanted anybody to think that they were above everybody else, especially when you've got Pharisees and emperors who think that they're above everybody else. They didn't want anybody hopscotching over them. They wanted to keep everybody down in that position against that big pyramid. You all are at the bottom. Nobody's going to have a direct connection with God. We are the keepers of the connection with God. You have to go through us to get to God. And Jesus was like, nope, boop, and jumps over all of them, has an experience, many experiences, remembers the truth, and he's just simply telling people, okay, this is how you do it. But to do it, you got to get clear that there is no authority over you in this world that has power over you. Humanity right now is in the midst of having to make that recognition. There is nobody here who has power over you. Nobody can make you feel happy, mad, safe, sad. Nobody can do that to you. That is completely of your doing. If you are listening to the ego and you put yourself in a victim role, well, you're going to suffer. That's going to be hell. No problems. But if you accept that you are holy, then you let go of the guilt of having done that to yourself. Maybe having trained your children into thinking we don't have as much power as the government. I taught my children, you follow authority, you listen to authority, there is authority above you, never knowing that I didn't have to believe that, but it's what I got indoctrinated with, is what I was taught. Course in Miracles wants us all to remember that we are all equal. There is not a one of us that is better than the other. There is not a one of us who has more power than the other. We all have equal power because we have been all sourced from the exact same source. Therefore, nobody can have more than another. We are all absolutely of the same order. We were created equal, every single one of us. Think of it as we all came from the same cookie cutter, all absolutely magnificent. So when we look at something like this and we look at salvation of the world depends on me as a statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind, and we humble ourselves to accept, wow, what is my function, God? And we just sit in contemplating that, sit into a conversation with God. And I'm going to recommend that you take some time to sit and ask, what is it that you would have me do? And the ego's going to start saying, well, what kind of a question is that to God? You know what you're supposed to do. You got to go to work. You got to pay the bills. You got to take care of the kids. You got to add to your retirement. If you're retired, you got to do this. You got to walk the dogs. You got to feed the cat. You got to blah, 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 blah. And the ego will start spinning all the things you're supposed to be doing, all distractions, because it has lowered us to be thinking about such trivial things, which of course feeding the cat and walking the dogs, it's important, but it's trivial compared to you allowing yourself to let your mind ascend to the place where you connect with God. And when I say ascend, it's because you expand the knowingness that you are powerful beyond measure, that you have a light that is bright, that this world needs to see. Because when we tap into that light, we stand as mighty lighthouses, grounded in a truth, grounded in a knowingness of our goodness and everybody else's. And when we do that, we become these safe ports for those who are lost in the darkness in the ships like in the ocean who are going through heavy storms. They count on that lighthouse. They know where to go. We are at a time in the ascension process. We are at the beginning of the end. We have 5 to 7 years left of the acceleration for humanity to choose. Am I going to accept my role, my function as one who is here for the salvation of the world? Or am I still listening to my ego and I'm only going to save my own ass because you know what, that's all that I can handle right now? All of that choice is by free will. Nobody is being forced to ascend or to remain in third 3D consciousness. Nobody is being forced to do that. We are either accepting that I can choose to expand my awareness beyond what I was taught, which is what I did. There's got to be more than what my grandma and my mom and my dad and my grandfather knew. I made a choice to expand my awareness. I made a choice to question what they knew. Where did that come from? And move to the place where I could come to the beginning of all that is. That's where I met God. That's where I met the God that is loving, that gave all of its children, that gave all of its creation free will to do whatever it wants to do, that created all of us of the same order. When I got to that place and I knew that, the peace that I felt, the release of all guilt and shame for the things that I had done that were wrong, all that dropped away. The arrogance that I was better than and I knew more than anybody else, all that dropped away. Over time, let me just say it wasn't instantaneous. It was over time because every irritation was an invitation for me to see my ego's belief system. And little by little, I changed my mind about who I am and I freed my soul to express itself, turned that dimmer up, and allowed my light to shine how it shines in the way that it does, with being the grandmother that I am, being the mom that I am, doing the things that I do. That is the most delicious part of my life, is that I do what God wants me to do. And it's not that I had to submit myself to God like some kind of a wife submits to their husband and become less than. That's what I used to think. I resisted this because I didn't want to be told what to do, until I realized that what I am being inspired to do, and it's not that I'm told what to do, it's I'm inspired. All of it is so loving, is so amazing, it's so beautiful, so wonderful. Who wouldn't want to do that? It activates such high frequency in me. I spend my days in a high state of joy. Who wouldn't want that? I spend my whole life chasing joy, chasing the next job, the next paycheck, the next piece of jewelry, the next accolade, and you would get it, and it's like lasts for 3 seconds, and then okay, on to the next one. Oh, a nice big ring. I need a bigger one. Oh, nice big car. I need a better one. Never satisfied for more than a couple of seconds. This it's it's a constant state of joy. I go to bed happy, I wake up happy, I walk the dog happy, I go to the grocery store happy, I take care of my babies happy, I change diapers for my grandchild happy. There's just a natural joy, because I know that when I stay in that high frequency, I am emanating something that is activating a frequency in the planet that is helping more people find their way home. The salvation of the world depends on me. My shining my light, first and foremost, is felt here. The joy is felt here first. The peace is felt here first. And then when I'm with somebody, when I am speaking or sharing or minding my own business at the grocery store, what is emanating from me is just peace and joy. That is helping the world. That allows people, because the Holy Spirit in me that is activating joy connects with the Holy Spirit in a person whom I walk by and go, oh, that person is so happy over there. You know, all she's doing is looking at tomatoes and she seems so happy. That may just move that person from being in the mindset of, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money to pay my bills or whatever, and not groceries are so expensive. It might shift them from that mindset of powerlessness for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and they're just like, oh, maybe I could enjoy this experience as well. We don't know how God is using us, but we do know that God is using us for the greater good of all. That we learned that in the characteristics of a teacher of God, which, by the way, tomorrow night we are not going to have that class, the 10 characteristics, because my friend John Adams is going to come and do a presentation for us. And I hope everybody will join us. The link to the Zoom is in the Academy. And John is a musician who has learned about the frequency of sound. And we need to understand that when we're operating with our dimmer all the way on, we are in the highest frequency. So if you want to learn how to regulate your frequency and also how the music industry, the world uses frequency to manipulate humanity, to enhance how we feel, to, for in so many ways. Actually, medicine is using sound now. One of the things that I have learned not too long ago is that through frequency, that is how they break, what do you call those? Gallstones, kidney stones. So frequency is so powerful, and understanding that we are made of frequency. We're made of vibration. We're light, and light is a frequency. So I hope that you would join us tomorrow night. That is Thursday, the 25th at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And again, the Zoom link is in the Academy, and come learn what John is here to teach. Not only is he going to give us an opportunity to have some sound healing, because he's going to bring some of his instruments, but he's going to share the power of understanding frequency. It's amazing. Satellites, microwave satellites, cell towers, they all emit frequency, and most of us don't even understand the kinds of frequencies that we're being bathed in. But when you begin to understand that, and of course, you know that you are the powerful light that you are, then you can shield yourself from anything that is not appropriate, that is of a lower frequency. But you need to understand how powerful you are. And John's gift is in teaching that specifically. So let's go to paragraph number 2. I love this paragraph. Let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. All that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. What a powerful statement. Don't argue. And if you do, pay attention to what those thoughts are. Don't fight that you are worthy. Don't resist that you are powerful. And if you do, pay attention to those thoughts. You will find out where they came from. You will find out who gave them to you. And then you can begin to say, you know what? This belief came from my uncle. Thank you very much for teaching me that, but I'm no longer accepting your hand-me-down belief. A lot of us don't wear hand-me-down clothes. Don't just put on hand-me-down beliefs and accept them like there's no choice. You have a choice in what you think. You have a choice in what you accept as your reality. You are needed in the salvation of the world. And the reason you are needed is because you bring with you a very unique signature that only you have, given to you by God. And when you accept your perfection, your magnificence, your utter incredibleness, when you accept that you matter so perfectly in the whole plan, you will shine a confidence, you will shine a joy, a peace that will be your signature. And when you allow yourself to say, God, have your way with me, your life will change in amazing ways. Now, granted, you have to go through the steps that we have to go through in developing trust to come to trust God, to say, okay, God, you tell me what to do. You've got to go through, there's no escaping the process of every single one of those periods of undoing, of relinquishment, of settling down, of that are going to alter you. So wherever you are on that journey to trusting the truth that God loves you and that you matter, when you can be at that place that you are totally and completely humble enough to say, I didn't create myself. Something created me, and that something is loving, and you allow that something to inspire you, to guide you, your life changes. There's no worry, there's no fear, there's no anger, there's no resentment, there's no lack. You know that you are in a temporary vehicle. It's only going to last so long. And I'm glad that it only lasts so long because, frankly, there are so many other adventures that I could be experiencing. But for now, I'm living this one fully. And when you allow yourself to just flow with creation, there is a joy, there is a I can't, there's no higher word than joy. It's a pure joy. But you have to decide to not deny what you are being called to do with self-deceiving arrogance, um, that somehow you're not worthy. Sentence 6 says, what is given us to do, we have the strength to do. Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. You know, God knows us. God knows us totally and completely. We have been created by a creator that knows us perfectly, and it wants us to express that unique signature that we each bring. And like my friend John does it through music, I do it through what I have found to be the most amazing text for me ever written, A Course in Miracles. Some people do it through participating maybe in a political career. Some people do it because they're an attorney and they're trying to bring some consciousness into that field. Some people do it as a doctor who is here to heal and brings about teachings from the Course that say, you know, you're under no laws but God's. We're all playing our role. We're all blooming where we're planted, as some woman said who wrote, I think, poetry. Every single one of us. If we sit, and I again invite you to at some point today, maybe right after this, if you have the time, sit in the acknowledgement that you are perfect and acknowledge my perfection comes from the one who created me, wanted me here, loves me so much, chose to express itself as me through me so that I could show the very unique aspect of that love through me. You know, the love of God is so massive that it needs not only 8 billion people, but it needs all the countless animals and the countless flowers and trees and all of the things that are on this planet that emanate pure love if we are just willing to sit and listen to it. Walk through nature and let the trees remind you that you are rooted in something beautiful. Pet your pet, whatever pet you might have, and listen to the love that that animal has for you. Yes, humanity, when we listen to our ego, we've done so many things that are so unloving. But we have free will and we can be unloving if we want to. Everybody that does something unloving is because somewhere along the way they learned that. A parent might have been unloving, a teacher might have been unloving. We need to recognize that we are not what happened to us. Forgive those for they didn't know what they were doing when they just handed us down that information. Forgive ourselves for believing things that are not true and humble ourselves enough to accept that we have a very important role. The world right now, as I said, we're in the beginning of the end. And then things are going to be very, very different. We're going to find ourselves either on the side that is ascending, surrounded by people who are committed to doing loving things, committed to listening to God, committed to doing things that are for the greater good, or we're going to find ourselves grounded inside of communities where people are selfish and scared and angry and talking about who they're going to shoot next or who they don't like or who all the problems and the victimization. Those two groups are becoming so glaringly obvious now. And it's all based on love and fear. That's all that it is. Service to the greater good, service to me. I need you to change from me. If you stop doing this, I'll be happy. And this is, no, I found my happiness and I'm just shining it. Come along if you want to, but you don't have to. Very, very different ways of thinking. Don't think about it as just political parties left or right. It's beyond that. It is simply love or fear. A connection to God, a willingness to listen to God, to move beyond the God of, the God that we have been told this is it. I had to leave that God. That God was so limiting and it was so like, oh my gosh, that's not a loving father. And find that God of your own understanding that you can feel. And when you feel it, and you can say, Father, tell me what to do, or Mother. It's not a gender. It's pure consciousness, it's pure intelligence, it's pure energy. And you cultivate a relationship of saying, I accept that you created me. Now tell me what is mine to do. And you trust that whatever it gives you to do is going to be fun. It's going to be joyful. It's going to be beautiful. And it's going to leave the world a better place. When you commit to just that path, all the other stuff will little by little fall away from your experience. It'll just be in the periphery. You'll know that they're there, but your light will shine so brightly that many in that group are going to be looking, wow, that person is so peaceful. This just happened to them and they're so peaceful. They just lost their house and they're so peaceful. They just got fired and they're so peaceful. They just got cancer and they're so peaceful. Because you will deal with everything that comes your way with a certainty, a clarity, and a peace that will pass all understanding. All right, sweetie Paula, enjoy your job. Off she goes. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for being a part of today's Ascension with A Course in Miracles, episode 215. And if you want to watch any of the previous episodes, if this is the first one, by all means, they're all on my YouTube channel. If you want to join us in the Awareness Academy, where I love teaching about the course, I've got lots of different levels that you can join us at, from free to where there's a monthly commitment and you get to be in lots of coaching groups and calls and things like that. I want to help you and meet you wherever you're at. All right. Does anybody have anything you want to share before we go? You don't have to. Just your presence. Oh, thank you, Miss Susie. I receive your kisses and your love. All right, everybody. See you all later then. Maybe next week. Take care. Bye-bye.